welcome back to another video within the AWS Solution Architect series. And in this video, we'll be talking about Amazon EC2. So as we discussed in our uh, previous videos, Amazon EC2 is considered to be an infrastructure as a service because it has a lot of layers of uh, configurations. So in that case, you cannot just perceive it as a service. It's a service in itself, it's a platform in itself, and it adds a lot at the top of that platform that it offers. Hence, we call it as an infrastructure as a service. So let me just quickly write our heading down. Amazon EC2. First and foremost, it's an infrastructure as a service, short for IaaS. Perfect. So we also talked about how it's like a fundamental computing block for any AWS service. So it's like it sits at the bottom of all of it, since it provides that unit of computation to the other services, which are either used within the cloud itself or which are used to deploy within your own infrastructure. All right, let's talk about the costing related to EC2 instances. So you would only be paying for this particular instance for no matter how many of these instances you can have, but you'll only be paying for these certain scenarios. So number one, obviously when you're renting the EC2 instance itself. Number two, when you're storing data on EBS, which is like a block storage for EC2 instances that can be attached to it. So we can say elastic block storage. We'll learn more about it in our later videos. We'll be covering it quite in detail. And the third point is distributing load across ELB, which is called elastic load balancer. Again, we'll be talking about load balancers in more detail in the upcoming videos. These are just to give you a very high level overview that when or in terms of the exam, you can be asked like what are the scenarios in which costing is actually affected or costing is actually implied when you're using Amazon EC2. And fourth and the final most one is scaling. Scaling the service in itself if you're using an auto scaling group. So this is again a concept associated with multiple instances of EC2. Whenever you get a high level of load, you can configure auto scaling where it can just your cloud infrastructure can launch or add more EC2 instances whenever you have a very high traffic and stuff like that. All right, in terms of storage, let's talk about that a bit. Storage, and for storage, as we discussed over here, we have one option as like we can attach EBS, elastic block storage. But for the conventional storage, the very first and foremost, we have EC2 instance. Now, this one is kind of important EC2 instance store. This is like a default um, disk, hardware disk attached to an EC2 instance. So it doesn't have any network involved. In whichever machine you're allotted that particular EC2 instance within the cloud, you get a default instant storage option as an EC2 instance store. Now, this really has high IO, and if you need it for some kind of tasks for which you need low latency, so I think this one is perfect. In in contrast, it offers the most highest IO attributes. So that's one thing. Another factor is that this is not persistent. So whenever your EC2 instance stops or terminates, so you will actually lose the instant store option as well. So if you want to use it for data that is temporary, or maybe temporary cache, temporary buffers, then this makes sense. Otherwise, for persistent storage, you can always look for other options within the Amazon landscape. And a second option, obviously, as discussed above, we have uh, EBS, something we can use with EC2 instances. And also, uh, we have an option of EFS, which is known as Elastic File System. So don't worry about most of these terms. We'll be covering them in quite a lot of detail once we actually jump onto them. Great. Let's talk about EC2 user data. So, what it offers. So EC2 data scripts or user data scripts are mostly used to bootstrap your instances. And so it's kind of considered as some commands that you can run uh, before an EC2 instance starts. So this can be, let's say, launching commands. When machine start. And machine starts. And so you can use these options for multiple reasons. Installing software. You can use it for downloading a package from the internet. Package from internet. And you can use it for absolutely anything. So yeah, that's basically what EC2 user data is. And you can also get a lot of templates of existing EC2 data scripts. So that's like one good thing about the AWS community. So you can search it over marketplace as well, or you can also search it on the internet, and you can easily find those scripts. So finally, let's talk about EC2 instant types. Now, this one is, I believe, the most important topic in terms of the exam. So we have, starting from, we have general purpose. We have memory optimized. And all of these different types actually are basically suitable for specific use cases or specific infrastructure types or specific use cases. So before jumping into working with EC2 instance, it's kind of important to have it clear in your mind that what kind of a use case you have. Is it a use case that requires, yeah, a lot of memory and different memory optimization criterias? If it requires more compute storage, so you have to figure out the inclination of your EC2 instances before you actually uh, go ahead and sort of rent them out. So the third one is compute optimized. The fourth one is storage optimized, as mentioned. So yeah, I think at the top of my head, these are probably four most important types that you would need in terms of the exam. So we'll jump into more details about them in the next video. I believe for this video, we have covered quite a lot of ground in terms of what EC2 instance is and what kind of utilities or configurations it sort of offers. In terms of an aerial view, this is kind of perfect. So I'll see you in the next video.